stories broke, shall we say, over the weekend that Leeds might be looking to offload, or Watkins was in dispute with Leeds over his contract, that he was due to get upgraded to a marquee, either a marquee contract or marquee money, which Leeds would have to pay. They look like they'd be trying to get out of that. Callum's form has not been great, I think that would be fair to say. He's a very good player, he's been a very excellent player for Leeds. They're getting rid of him. They're paying him off. Now look, he's a player, he's got a contract, he don't have to go anywhere. So I think clearly Callum has got a deal sorted out. He's going away and he's going to make a few quid out of Leeds in going away. I think that it suits him, it suits Leeds. I think it's a good business move from Leeds. If they need to free up some salary cap, but it just looks very ruthless. I think we've got a poll on it. It was very split on Twitter at Forty20 Live. You can get involved. It was very, very down the middle. I'll start with you, Gary. What do you think? He's gone or he's going? Yeah, now, first things first, they have to remove him as captain because he's not good enough to play for Leeds. But you know,
well, I said that 6 weeks ago, didn't I? You know, for Callum to get the enjoyment back into his game, they've got to take the pressure off him, and that is certainly the captaincy. Should have been taken off him 6 maybe 8 weeks ago from there, just to try and get that spark back, that rejuvenation, that smile back on his face. They've tried him in the second row, which has been a failure. It's been a total failure putting him in the second row. He hasn't hit the form back in the senses. Yes, he has been a quality player for Leeds, but since that injury, which I'm sure Phil will talk about what he picked up, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, not fully recovered, maybe brought him back a little bit early. But one thing for sure, this season, nowhere near the Callum Watkins. Callum won't want to be remembered for the sort of form what he's showing, but unfortunately, with the burden of the captaincy, maybe not recovering from the injury, the way that Leeds are playing themselves, I'm afraid to say it's going to be a sorry into his Leeds career. But moving away now, it might get him back, reinvent himself, get, as I say, that enjoyment back, smile back on his face. Because if he gets the right service, gets a good pre-season under his belt from their new environment, we may see Callum Watkins back to his best at international level. Is he good enough to be selected for international at the end of the season? Nowhere for me, nowhere from there. So going away, nice payday, take the captaincy off him. Off you go and enjoy yourself at another club.
Go on, what's the...
So far, 54% say wrong decision, 46% say Watkins out. It's a shame some of the...
So it's Woxit?
Yeah. It's a shame some of the reaction on social media from the people who we call idiots has been very anti-Watkins for wanting to apparently get what he's entitled to, or is in his contract, or whatever the situation is. We don't know from both sides, do we? But we're talking about a player here who... He's never done anything wrong, has he, necessarily? Not off the field.
He's been overly loyal. He could have gone 2 or 3 times.
Model pro, plays good rugby, doesn't cheat, doesn't deliberately take people's heads off or whatever. Does community work or whatever, but never does anything bad. And people are having to go in because he wants a bit of money that he's supposedly entitled to.
I was surprised by the reaction. I tweeted that as well. I was surprised by the reaction, the ill feeling to him. Look, Callum Watkins has scored 40 tries this year and then went, I'm off because I get some more money. Everyone would have called him a greedy son. So because they want rid of him,
what people need to do is remember Callum as the guy in the 2015 Grand Final that was outstanding, not the player that's played over the last year, because he clearly has had a serious, potentially career-threatening knee injury that he hasn't yet come back from. I think the word you used sums it up absolutely. It's ruthless. This is the business of sport. And the other 2 words are salary and cap. And when you operate in that environment, there isn't the luxury of keeping somebody on for sentimental reasons.
This is we always tell the NFL, right? This is what it's supposed to be like. Yeah. This is supposed to say to Wigan or Leeds, well, if you want him, you're going to have to get rid of him, and they've got to go, what do you want to do?
I think there's 2 other things to bear in mind here. One is it's the start of a serious clear out at Leeds. So for whatever reason, there's been talk on this programme for long enough about recruitment. Yeah. Well, Leeds are clearly in the market now to recruit. To recruit, you have to release some money. To release some money, you have to look where your strengths are. One of the positives this year, and that's not easy to say, has been the form of Harry Newman. So you look at, you've got Conrad Horrell as one of your marquee players, and you've got a young kid who's over-exceeded at the moment, who you really need to play every week and reward. So you need to upgrade Newman's contract. You can't have the luxury of having anybody else in that position at the moment. If you need a halfback, if you need a hooker, if you need a back row, wherever you think you need to strengthen your team, that might be the need to dispense with a centre. That's just how it works these days. I think so. From Leeds' point of view, it's just a hard-nosed business move. They have obviously looked at the money they've got to spend. They've decided that what Callum was going to be paid over the next 2 years, which when they signed him 4 years ago, they obviously didn't factor in, as you couldn't, a major injury. It wasn't going to be the money they wanted to spend in that part of the team. So they've made a conscious business decision to say, he's been a brilliant servant, he's just coming to the end of his testimonial. Nobody could question the impact he's made on that club as a young teenager when he came through. The work that he's done for club and country, but he's not what we need going forward if we're going to change.
Yeah. No,
So that's
right. And look, he's not going. He's not losing out. He's not going on the door.
And I
you know
think
what I mean?
that there are a couple of places that would take him tomorrow if he's fit. And I think that his agent over the weekend tested the Australian market, which is how it's come back. I think the other thing that Gary said that is absolutely right is you've got to look at it from Callum's point of view. He'll be terribly disappointed because he's a home bird and he would have liked to have been a one-club man and he'd love to have made... I mean, look who's had the captaincy since Kevin Sinfield gave it up. Danny Maguire and Callum Watkins. It's affected both of them. Neither of them played at the level that they could best play at with that burden of captaincy upon them. So that may or may not be an issue and he wouldn't have wanted to leave.
What is it, the burdency of captaincy or was it the burdency that Leeds were rubbish?
It wouldn't have helped. But he doesn't want to leave with the reputation that people think he's got now. So I think going away, having a pre-season at another club where his knee will be stronger, having a different environment which will challenge him.
I think you're doing good.
He could come back and be, he's 28, he could be a mainstay in the England team at the 2021 World Cup.
Yeah.
So it works for everybody, but it's cruel.
It is, but that's what it should be like. That's what it should be. It's taken however many years to get to this point. In the NFL, they cut their best players and go, right, there's no paying out.
Yeah.
You know, you might sign a $100 million contract, but only 15 million of it's guaranteed. They go, well, here's your 15 million, but sod off, we don't want you.
And Gary will tell you, this has always existed.
Oh, yeah.
If a club have decided that a player
I had it myself at Leeds, don't worry about that.
It doesn't matter whether
I
you've got a contract or not.
and I didn't want to leave Leeds, but I had it myself. Leeds was
just for the record, are you sorry he's going, or from a player point of view, or from a performance point of view, do you think this is a good decision?
I think it's a good decision.
Yeah,
without a doubt for both sides. For both sides, we've seen the best of Callum Watkins from there. The pressure of the captaincy. He's not a leader. He's not a captain. You know, so he shouldn't be given in the first place from anyway. But they should have been taken off 8 weeks ago. But rejuvenation, new club, bring that smile back in his face, and as Phil said, hopefully can get back to something like his international best.
You're happy with it, or you understand why?
I understand it, and I think that it's clear that Leeds need recruitment, which is going to cost a fair bit in other positions. They're being linked with 3 halfbacks, and they clearly can't sign them all, but the fact that they're being linked with Jackson Hastings, James Maloney and even Luke Gale, that tells you where they want and need to spend their money. And maybe they're having to sacrifice a centre to do that.
Chat. Sorry, go on. You have your say. Do you agree with this or not?
Just for Andrew, who says why always about Leeds, we spent the first 30 minutes talking about other things.
Well, it's probably the biggest story in Rugby League today. As Hull KR haven't yet confirmed that Tim Sheens has left.
Gil makes a couple of Joe makes a couple of points rather. I'm afraid you can't be sentimental in sport when things are not good, which is interesting because they're not sentimental like Callum Watkins, but we're about 2 of their second row forwards, one of whom hasn't played this year. This is not a brand new issue that's come up over the weekend, has it? Obviously, this has gone on for a while.
2 weeks. This has been negotiated.
Was it only 2 weeks? Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's not. This has not been a long-term issue in terms of his form this year. Then we are putting that down to A, the team around him, and B, his recovery from injury.
And I think it's
I
also
think he came back too soon.
the form of Harry Newman as well has changed the dynamic.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what then, so Leeds who were chasing 3 halfbacks then, so they've made a mistake signing Lola here, made a mistake Krell and also 2 Richie Mine, as I said from day one.
I don't know about McClelland, I don't think you can, I mean again he played for the under-19s this week who had a really resounding win. But he's not...
If they get scrum half a standoff, if they get, let's just say they get to Luke Gale or James Maloney, that'll be on what, 3 or 4 year deals, Hastings will be on 3 or 4 deal, so McClelland's gone then?
Not necessarily, it could be Milo that's going, could be McClelland and Newman.
What, and again, I'm reading between the lines. You might be able to confirm or deny it, Phil. You know better than me. My understanding is that Leeds made an approach and an offer to sign Luke Gale now, even though he's injured. Now, here's one, and we'll talk about Castleford now. There's no guarantee Luke Gale's going to come back and be the same Luke Gale. We've just been talking about Kallum Watkins, how his injuries affected him. We know Luke Gale started off at Leeds. It would fit the circle that he goes back there. He's on big dollar at Cass. If you were Cass, would you sell it? My understanding is they were happy to sell him, and Leeds, as my understanding is, Leeds made an offer and then withdrew it. Is that Leeds with a bit of skullduggery? Because I still think they're going to go for Darryl Powell as their coach. I can't comprehend that they're not going to make that move. But why are they after Luke Gale when he's injured and there's no guarantee he's going to come back the same?
Well, yeah, we
way?
mentioned, it was about 3 months ago, was it, when they made the approach for him?
I don't know when they did it.
Yeah.
I think it's been back on the table. I think it's been back on the table.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, they've got to see how he comes from injury. So they've got to see how he starts.
That would be a gamble. I think that's a gamble,
Massive
isn't it?
gamble.
That's a gamble. We all hope he comes back great and does what he
Yeah,
did
that's what I'm
before,
saying. But I wouldn't sign him at this moment in time.
No.
I'd wait.
Unless it was the
wait.
bait to get the coach to come along with it.
It's all gone quiet on the Leeds coaching front, hasn't it?
Very quiet.
Yeah.
Very, very quiet.
And I think we know that if they wanted Sean Wayne, if he was their number one
He'd
target,
be there now.
they could
He'd
have
be there now.
Yeah.
He'd be there.
He's already, from the other side of that fence, said he's available and willing to talk, and there doesn't seem to have been any discussions between the two parties. So you would think that, I get the stability, I get there's some issue behind the scenes with paying off David Furner, that's not been agreed yet. So again, maybe Leeds feel that legally they can't go into the market to replace him until a deal is done to ease his passage.
Is Mr. Caddick having to dig deep now? He must be costing him a few quid now.
The board have made a decision that
After that Bradford defeat. After that Bradford
No,
defeat.
I think it was before that.
Well, after that Bradford defeat, I saw Mr. Carrick and Miss Hamilton having some very stern words and some very. I've never seen Mr. Carrick so. I won't say angry. I'd say more annoyed. More annoyed, thinking, why has this happened? Why has this happened? But also, what I was going to say as well, Castleford. What I'm hearing a little bit as well is. You may have heard it, you may not, but a little bit of unrest and Darryl Powell maybe going upstairs. Why would Darryl Powell go upstairs when they've got John Wells as a director of rugby?
I said at the time, if you're Leeds, right, even if only to throw a spanner in the engine at Cass, you make an approach for Darryl Powell. Right now, that hasn't officially happened as far as we know.
Until the Furner situation is settled.
Yeah, but I cannot believe they're not going for a guy that could do them a good job. It's a fit for me. I'll give Rich credit. He said after the lost at Old Trafford, that's Cass's chance gone, and I was like, nah, you've been a biased Wakefield fan. They could still win Super League, but I look at the team. Darryl built the team to win it 2 years ago, and it didn't, for whatever reason. We know what the reason is. Didn't win, and I don't think I'm not sure Castleford as a club can get back there again. That squad was there to win it, wasn't it? They were players.
Well, if Powell comes back to Leeds, obviously he'll be looking hopefully maybe at Gale as well. Will he bring Matt Sheehan?
Well, here's the point from Roy. If Leeds are recruiting players, which apparently they are doing right now, it shows that the coach won't apparently have a say. Who's going to take that job on? Will Darryl Powell be happy to play with the cards dealt to him by Sir Kevin?
Well, the one thing we don't know is if the coach has been identified and is in discussion and has been consulted.
Well,
but not yet appointed.
The point you made a good point, right? They're clearing the decks here. Yeah. They're saying we've got 800k salary cap.
Well,
that is the money.
Yeah.
Now the coach, you tell us what you want.
And I think JJB won't be playing next year. He's already announced that this is his last year, and I think he's incredibly frustrated that the sciatica problem he's got has seen him not on the pitch as often as he wanted in his final year.
Well, then someone gave him a longer contract.
Yeah, but they didn't know he had sciatica at the time, did they?
And I think the same with Carl Ablett. They didn't know he was going to injure his ankle in training and need another operation and not yet pull on the shirt this year. I think at the time they felt it's a holding year, and people like him were what they were missing last season. We've talked all year about leadership. Well, there are two leaders there, but he's not there, Ablett's not there, Callum Watkins isn't there. Suddenly you've got maybe Brett Ferris isn't there, who's contract. You've got a lot of salary cap money where you can, and they've got some good juniors. You can go out and cherry pick the people that you want, which is exactly how this golden generation started. Ally them with the juniors, a coach that can improve the players that are already there. The mix is starting to come back, but you have to clear the decks first.
You do, and they are doing that. So
who else are going to clear off?
Well, the one thing that
Myler,
the one thing the Watkins deal shows is that nobody is safe.
Yeah.
Whether they've got a contract or not.
Yeah. So everyone's
on notice.
There's about another 3 or 4 want to go in. There's got to be.
Yeah.
Got to be.
Massive.
And Lola here could be one of them as well.
I don't think anybody is safe.
Hi everyone over in the UK. Well, I'm here to tell you that come October this year, I'll be travelling to the UK to do a week-long talking tour. I'll be talking about everything in my life, my rugby league career, how I started, and of course how I finished this year. I'll be travelling to Leeds, St Helens, Hull and Doncaster to do live events. Go to rmsportsevents.co.uk to get all the information. I'll also be playing a couple of games of rugby league against an old foe of mine, Adrian Morley. The events also support Life for a Kid. Can't wait for it. It's going to be great fun. I love the UK. See you in October.